I want to boldly challenge the young people out there to revisit conventions. To revisit conventions that have stereotyped their approach to life. Because the truth is, and it will stand to be, that success in life is factored heavily by your approach. There are no fixed rules for how to approach life. Intelligence is only intelligent if it provides intelligence. As a result, we shouldn't be fixated around institutional norms, especially if those institutional norms aren't working. So what do I tell the young people today? I tell them to revisit the sheer logic of what we prescribe to be intelligence today. Intelligence is not necessarily acquiring certificates from various institutions that tell you that you have achieved X. Intelligence is what those certificates do for you in terms of enabling you to be a master of your environment. And as a result, the intelligence you should be seeking is the one that brings you closer to achieving what you were meant to achieve in life. And what you were meant to achieve in life will never be far away from who you truly are as a person. Looking at philosophy, philosophically, there's always been a debate, and I personally find huge refuge in this debate because it provides me insight on this dynamic of the evolution of intelligence and what we know it to be. There's always been this long-standing debate from an academic point of view, especially when it comes to institutions of higher learning, between higher learning for knowledge and higher learning for skills. And the debate always has been, which of these should an institution of higher learning impart? Should it focus on imparting knowledge, or should it focus on imparting skills? And one of the things you notice is that this debate has always been bent on what's been happening on the ground in terms of the needs in the market. So there are times when the market needs knowledge, and there are times when the market needs skills. So at the end of the day, the best institutional approach is the one that brings you closer to realizing the needs of the market. The only value that comes out of academic achievement is one which will enable you to fulfill the needs of the market. Meaning, at the end of the day, the purpose of institutions that provide knowledge and skills is actually to fulfill needs that are in the marketplace. If the knowledge or the skills you get are not required in the marketplace, then obviously the institutions are not fulfilling the required need, and hence they're challenging their own purpose. As a result, I'd like for young people to think about this in perspective and look at it from this point of view. You are not in school to get a certificate. As a matter of fact, today, it doesn't matter how many certificates you have if those certificates do not create value for you or the society. So before you even think of the certificate that you want to put your time and effort around, you should look at how that certificate will enable you to create value. Or better yet, how you will enable that certificate to create value for you and society. Is there a resonance between you and the certificate you're taking? Is there a resonance between you, the certificate you're taking, and the needs of the society? And as a result, we go back now to revisiting the same logic of relating your structure as an individual to the certificates or the kind of skills and knowledge that you are trying to get from institutions. Will it enable you to further a cause that you were structured for so that you can create value? Or will it just further enhance your frustrations? Because obviously at the end of the day, irrespective of how useful your certificate is, once you have attained it, you will have expectations. You will have expectations that the certificate you have attained should deliver something for you. And there are a lot of young people out there who are frustrated because they had expectations. Society created expectations for them. Society tells us that if you want to get a good life, you have to get a certificate. You have to get a good job. But then we get certificates sometimes and we still don't get a good life. We get good jobs and we still don't get the life that we desire, because there is no relationship between the certificate or the job and the structure that is who we are. All this brings us to one critical place as a society. And that is the value of the psychology of our people in the process of development. Psychology is often a link that is missed out on in the development equation. But before we get into the hardcore macroeconomic truths, a society comprises of psychological beings. People who have aspirations, who have desires, who have dreams, who oftentimes are lost in the middle of what we now call reality. And the only adjoining factor, the only parameter that they have true control over that can influence what is the reality we know is perception. Perception is a reflection of a person's psychology. But perception is one of the most powerful tools in manifesting a truth amidst the chaos that oftentimes defines our reality. Hence, perception has to be nurtured. And so as a result, one of the most important things that I have seen since since I wrote my book, Life in You, is the need for selling hope as a critical adjunct in the development equation. Giving people a reason to believe not only in what is being projected on a national level, but giving them a reason to believe in themselves, irrespective of their background, irrespective of the circumstance under which they have found themselves, believing that within themselves, if they reach deep enough, they actually are the custodians of their future and what they desire to do with their lives. If you lose hope in Tanzania, what does someone do in a country that is ravaged by war like Somalia do? Clearly, hope is not a reflection of the state of the economy. It is a reflection of the state of the mind. It is a reflection of what the mind has been taught to believe, and as a result, what the mind chooses to focus on. If we can nurture the young minds of our people to believe in themselves, to believe that they actually have what it takes to be the difference, and if we show them the best approach that they can use to approach life, given what they have, then we will be one step closer to redefining the reality that we know today. Because at the end, we all know that reality is only as good as our perception of what it is. No better reason to ignite a sense of hope in our young people than the sheer fact that the development of this country is vested heavily on the mindset of its people. If the people of this country have a positive outlook, then there's a likelihood, a higher likelihood, that that positive outlook will translate into productivity for the nation, because they will apply themselves, they will drive an agenda for development that defies the reality that they know or are exposed to. This brings us back to the initial point. Why? It is that much more important to inform our young people of the truth around the why in their path towards success. Because if they relate to the why, then their efforts will result into something new. Then their efforts will result into achievements. And like I say all the time, there is nothing worse in life than not to achieve. Achievement does not have to be on an intergalactic level. You don't have to achieve extraordinary feats to achieve. You have to achieve within reasonable doubt the objectives that you've set. There is no greater logic to support having hope in the future of this country than the basic knowledge that at the end of the day, as individuals, we are shareholders of this great nation. We have interest in this great nation because we are owners of this great nation. There is absolutely no logic that will support the owner of an entity abandoning that entity, losing hope in that entity, if that's the entity that defines your livelihood. We need to remind Tanzanians that they are the owners of this country. No one else at the end has entitlement to Tanzania than those who own it. And like shareholders in any company, you cast the final vote on who will be the custodian of your company when you are not able to act on that company's behalf. So in a nutshell, we have the ability to redefine even what we see to be the norm. Because the norm only is sensible if it makes sense. It only adds value if it actually adds value. There's no logic in you investing your efforts in something that you know at the end will not generate the results you want. So you must first and foremost retract that logic that currently has evolved, that tells you that you have to do X, you have to do this, you have to do that, without telling you the reason why. If you understand that your why is respect, or your why is money, or your why is power, then draw your efforts in that direction. Because once you gain respect, then power and money will follow. Once you gain power, then respect and money will follow. Once you gain money, then power and respect will follow. It's that sheer logic that tells you everyone has access to the pathway to success. The challenge for you is to revisit your structure, to understand who you are enough to be able to know which of these entry points you will focus on. Because the only one constant in the struggle for success is hard work.